The Last Song of Memphis. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday morning in October 1977, postmarked from Memphis but with no return address. Sarah Caldwell held it in her trembling hands, staring at the handwriting she hadn't seen in 23 years, graceful loops and confident strokes that belonged to only one person she'd ever known. Elvis Presley had been dead for 2 months. Sarah sat down hard on her porch swing, the Tennessee autumn air suddenly feeling too thin to breathe. She was 61 years old now, a widow, a grandmother, someone whose wild past had been neatly folded away like wedding china rarely used. But that handwriting pulled her back instantly to 1954, to a girl of 18 with victory rolls in her hair and a dream of singing that burned brighter than any Memphis streetlight. Inside the envelope was a single photograph and a letter written on hotel stationery from the Peabody. The photograph showed 2 young people sitting on the steps of Sun Records, a skinny boy with dark hair slicked back and a smile that could light up Beale Street, and a girl in a polka dot dress with her head thrown back in laughter. Sarah remembered that exact moment. It was the day after Elvis recorded "That's All Right," the day everything changed, though neither of them knew it yet. The letter was dated August 15th, 1977, the day before he died. Dear Sarah, if you're reading this, then Hank kept his word, and you got this after I was gone. I know that's a hell of a way to start a letter, but I never was much good at doing things the regular way. There's something I need to tell you, something I should have told you 23 years ago when you left Memphis. But I was young and stupid and scared, and by the time I got my nerve up, you were married to Tom and I was on my way to Hollywood, and it seemed like the moment had passed. That song, "Can't Help Falling in Love," I told everybody it was about a girl I met in Germany. That was a lie. It was about you, Sarah. It was always about you. Sarah's hands shook so badly the letter blurred. She set it down carefully on the swing beside her and stared out at the maple trees lining her quiet street in Nashville. This couldn't be real. This had to be some cruel joke, except the photograph was real, the handwriting was real, and the ache in her chest felt like 1954 all over again. She picked up the letter and kept reading. You remember that night at the Overton Park Shell? July 1954, right before I played there for the first time. You and me sitting on the hood of your daddy's Chevrolet, looking at the stars. And you told me you were scared you'd never make it as a singer. You said Memphis was too small and your voice wasn't special enough and you'd probably end up working at Goldsmith's department store selling gloves to rich ladies. I told you that was the dumbest thing I had ever heard. You had the most beautiful voice I had ever known. Not just beautiful like pretty, but beautiful like honest. Like when you sang, people could hear their own hearts. You asked me if I thought we'd ever make it big. I said yes, absolutely, no question. You laughed and said I had more confidence than sense. I kissed you for the first time that night. Do you remember? Sarah remembered. God, how she remembered. The night was so hot the air felt like bath water, and the cicadas were screaming in the trees, and Elvis tasted like the Coca-Cola they'd been sharing. He kissed her soft and careful, like she was something precious, and when they pulled apart, he said, "When we're both famous, Sarah Caldwell, I'm gonna marry you on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry." She'd laughed and called him crazy, but part of her had believed him. Here's what I never told you. The letter continued. In 1955, right after Heartbreak Hotel hit, my manager, Colonel Parker, called me into his office. He said I had a choice to make. He'd gotten word that RCA was interested in signing a female vocalist, someone young, someone pretty, someone who could sing country and blues and gospel all mixed together, someone exactly like you. The colonel said I could put your name forward. He said you'd get the contract probably. You had the talent. But he also said if I did that, it would change everything. You and me, we'd both be in the same business, both be traveling, both be under pressure. He said young love couldn't survive that kind of spotlight. He said I had to choose between my career and you. I chose wrong, Sarah. I told him to find somebody else. I told him you'd decided to quit singing and get married. I lied because I was a coward and I wanted you all to myself. And I thought maybe if you stayed in Memphis working regular jobs, we could have a normal life together when I came home between tours. 2 months later, you met Tom. 6 months after that, you were married. I was in Hollywood making my first movie, and I got the wedding announcement in the mail. I tore it up and threw it in the Pacific Ocean and told myself it was for the best. But it wasn't. It was the worst thing I ever did. Sarah couldn't see the words anymore through her tears. She thought about all those years working as a church secretary, singing in the choir on Sundays, putting away her dreams in favor of a good, stable life with a good, stable man. Tom had been kind. Tom had been steady. Tom had given her 2 beautiful daughters and a comfortable home and 40 years of companionship. But Tom had never made her feel like she could fly. She wiped her eyes and forced herself to keep reading. I wrote Can't Help Falling in Love in 1961. I was making Blue Hawaii, and the movie people wanted a romantic song for the wedding scene. I couldn't stop thinking about you. About that night at Overton Park, about how you deserved to hear the truth even if I was too much of a coward to tell you in person. Every time I sang that song, I was singing it to you. Every time. Thousands of times over the years, in concerts and in movies and in Vegas, and every single time I closed my eyes and saw you in that polka dot dress, laughing on the steps of Sun Records. I know it's too late now. I know you had a good life with Tom. I kept tabs, Sarah. I hope that doesn't creep you out, but I needed to know you were happy. I needed to know that my cowardice didn't ruin you. But I wanted you to know the truth before I'm gone. You deserved to make it, Sarah. You deserved that recording contract in the spotlight and everything that came with it. I stole that from you because I was selfish and scared. I'm sorry. I'm so damn sorry. If there's any way you can forgive me, even just a little bit, I left something for you with Hank. He'll know what to do. Love always. Elvis. Sarah sat on that porch swing for an hour, maybe 2, rereading the letter until she had it memorized. The sun moved across the sky. Her neighbors drove past going about their Tuesday errands, and somewhere in the distance she could hear children playing. Finally, she went inside and called the number written at the bottom of the letter. A man answered on the second ring. "This is Hank Williams, Jr.," the voice said. "You must be Sarah." "How did you know?" "Because Elvis said you'd call the second you finished reading it. He knew you better than you think." They met the next day at a lawyer's office in Memphis. Hank was there, along with a thin man in a gray suit who introduced himself as Mr. Peterson, executor of certain private affairs for Mr. Presley. Mr. Peterson slid a document across the polished mahogany table. "Mr. Presley established a trust in 1955, he said quietly. "Every year he deposited money into an account in your name. He called it his debt to Sarah. The total amount, with interest, currently stands at approximately $847,000. Sarah felt the room tilt. "I don't understand." "He wanted you to have what you would have earned if he'd given you that recording contract," Hank said. "He calculated it all out, what the average successful female vocalist made over 20 years, adjusted for inflation. He was real particular about the math." "I can't accept this." "Legally, you already have," Mr. Peterson said gently. "The trust was irrevocable. The money has been yours since 1955. We were simply holding it until Mr. Presley's death, as per his instructions." "There's one more thing," Hank said. He produced a reel-to-reel tape from a leather case. "Elvis recorded this in 1976 at Graceland on one of his good days. He wanted you to have it." That night, in her Nashville living room, Sarah threaded the tape onto her old reel-to-reel player, the same one she'd used to practice her vocals in the 1950s. She sat in Tom's favorite chair, the one she hadn't been able to give away even though he'd been gone 3 years now, and pressed play. The tape hissed and popped, and then she heard it. Elvis's voice, raw and unpolished, singing without any backing music. But he wasn't singing one of his hits. He was singing her song. In 1954, before everything changed, Sarah had written a song called Memphis Morning. It was about the city at dawn, about the light coming up over the Mississippi, about the promise of a new day and a new dream. She'd only ever sung it once, for Elvis, on that same night at Overton Park when he'd kissed her for the first time. Now, 22 years later, here was Elvis singing her words back to her. His voice cracked with emotion on the chorus. In a Memphis morning, when the world still knew, I can see forever, long as I see you, all the dreams we're chasing, all the songs we'll sing. In a Memphis morning, you can be anything. When the song ended, there was a long pause, and then Elvis spoke directly to the tape recorder. Sarah, I don't know if you'll ever forgive me. Sarah, I don't know if you'll ever forgive me. I don't know if I deserve forgiveness, but I want you to know that your song, this song right here, was always better than anything I ever recorded. You were the real deal, honey. I was just the guy who got lucky. I kept my copy of your song all these years. I sang it to myself when the Colonel was pushing too hard, when the movies got too stupid, when Vegas felt like a cage. Your words reminded me why we fell in love with music in the first place, because it made us feel like we could be anything. I hope you used your voice, Sarah. I hope you sang in church and at weddings and to your babies. I hope you didn't let my cowardice take that away from you completely. And if there's a heaven, and if somehow I make it in, I'll be looking for you. We can sit on the hood of your daddy's Chevrolet and look at the stars, and I'll tell you all the things I was too scared to say when it mattered. Until then, this is Elvis Presley, signing off from Graceland, still loving you after all these years. The tape ended. Sarah sat in the darkness of her living room and cried harder than she'd cried at Tom's funeral, harder than she'd cried when her mother died, harder than she'd cried in her entire adult life. These weren't tears of sadness exactly, or even tears of regret. They were tears of release, for the girl she'd been, for the life she might have lived, for the love that had been real even though it couldn't last. The next morning, Sarah called her daughter Jennifer. "Mom, what's wrong? It's 7 in the morning." "Nothing's wrong," Sarah said, surprised by how steady her voice sounded. "I need you to help me with something. I want to record a song." "You want to what?" "I want to go into a recording studio and record a song I wrote a long time ago. Can you help me arrange that?" Jennifer, who worked in artist management in Nashville, was silent for a long moment. "Mom, are you feeling okay?" "I'm feeling better than I have in years," Sarah said, and she meant it. 3 weeks later, Sarah Caldwell walked into RCA Studio B, the same studio where Elvis had recorded some of his biggest hits. The session musicians were young enough to be her grandchildren, but they treated her with respect when Jennifer explained what they were doing. "My mother wrote this song in 1954, Jennifer said. "Someone special to her recorded a version, but it was never released. We want to do it right." They recorded Memphis Morning in 2 takes. Sarah's voice wasn't young anymore. It cracked in places, couldn't quite reach the high notes it used to, but it had something it didn't have in 1954. It had lived. It had loved and lost and carried on. It had raised children and buried a husband and survived disappointment. It was honest, just like Elvis said. When the session ended, the young guitarist approached Sarah. "Ma'am, that was beautiful. I don't know who recorded the first version, but I think yours is better." Sarah smiled. "Thank you, sweetheart. But you're wrong. His version was perfect because he meant every word. Mine is just true." She donated most of Elvis's money to music education programs across Memphis and Nashville, keeping enough to ensure her grandchildren could go to college. She recorded 3 more songs in the following months, all songs she'd written in her youth and kept in a drawer for decades. On the anniversary of Elvis's death in 1978, a small Memphis radio station played Memphis Morning as a tribute. The DJ explained the story. A song written by a girl who almost made it, sung by the king himself, finally given to the world by the woman who'd never stopped loving music, even when music seemed to have forgotten her. The song didn't become a hit. It didn't change Sarah's life in any external way. But every time she heard it on the radio, and it did get played occasionally, especially around Elvis commemorations, she felt that same sensation she'd felt at 18, sitting on the hood of her daddy's Chevrolet. Like she could be anything. Sarah Caldwell lived to be 89 years old. She died in 2005, surrounded by her daughters and grandchildren and great-grandchildren in a room filled with flowers and photographs. On her nightstand was the picture from Sun Records, the skinny boy and the girl in the polka dot dress, frozen forever in a moment before everything changed. In her will, she left instructions that Memphis Morning should be played at her funeral. As the song filled the church, her granddaughter Amy noticed something strange. There was a man in the back row, older, wearing dark sunglasses even though they were indoors. He stayed for the whole service, crying quietly. And when it ended, he placed a single red rose on the casket and left before anyone could ask his name. Amy mentioned it to her mother Jennifer later at the reception. "That's odd," Jennifer said. "All of Mom's friends from back then are gone." But Amy had seen something that made her think. When the man bent to place the rose, his sleeve had pulled back, revealing a tattoo on his wrist, a treble clef with the words Memphis Morning underneath. "Mom," Amy said slowly, "did Grandma ever tell you exactly who recorded her song in 1976? Jennifer looked at her daughter with knowing eyes. "She told me it was someone who loved her very much. She said that was all that mattered." "Do you think it was—" "I think," Jennifer interrupted gently, "that some love stories don't end the way you expect. And I think your grandmother had a beautiful life with your grandfather, but she also had a beautiful secret she carried with grace and dignity. Whatever it was, whoever it was, it made her happy. That's enough." But late that night, after everyone had gone home, Jennifer pulled out a box from her mother's belongings. Inside was the original letter from Elvis, the photograph, and one more item she'd never seen before. A gold record, professionally framed, with a small plaque that read, "To Sarah, for the song you gave me and the life I couldn't give you. You were always the real king. Love, EP." Jennifer hung the gold record in her office, where it stayed for the rest of her life. She never told anyone where it came from, never sought to authenticate it or sell it or make it public. Like her mother before her, she understood that some gifts are measured not in their monetary value, but in the love they represent. And sometimes, late at night when Jennifer was working late and the Nashville streets were quiet, she'd look at that gold record and think about a young girl in a polka dot dress sitting on the hood of a Chevrolet, dreaming of everything she might become. In a Memphis morning, when the world was still new, anything was possible. Even love that lasted longer than fame, even forgiveness that came 23 years too late, even a song that finally found its way home.